Greetings. I'm going to try to work as I talk, and we're going to talk about what's going on. So I'm in my '94 Miata. This is the C package with leather and all that awesome stuff. And it was equipped from the factory with the top-end stereo that you can get in one of these cars. And there it is. You're looking right at it. That is the infamous, or famous, Mazda Sensory Sound System 1, the MSS1. And it was, again, it was the top of the line stereo for the Miata. And it was originally the default stereo for the limited edition, the 93 LE, which is usually black on red. Nice car. Anyway, this stereo offers a few really nice features. Built-in cassette, CD, big deal in '94, of course. AM, FM, power antenna, which was not standard equipment on the Miata, unless you bought all the goodies. It also has the body sonic system, and the body sonic system puts two bass transducers in the in the seat backs. So as you're cruising along, you can feel like a low vibration. It's adjustable with this knob right here, and you can feel that in your back. It's not really sound. It basically enhances what limited bass you can really get out of a car like this. So anyway, it is a fairly rare option. These stereo head units are very hard to find in any condition. They're even harder to find in working condition. Well, it just so happens I have one. In fact, one of these stereos has sold, I found a post somewhere. Somebody actually paid over $700 for one of these because they were restoring an LE, a 93 LE. And I believe this stereo was available on all three package levels up until early '95. So, yeah, they're very rare, and like I said, I happen to have one. Now, my stereo is fully functional. Everything works, without exception. And I want to kind of keep it that way. But here's the thing. The stereo just doesn't do what I need it to do. It's 2018, and it just doesn't cut it for the needs of a road trip for 2018. It needs to be able to be integrated into my phone has to be able to be used with it. So it's been kind of a pain in the ass, I'll be honest, because I have to use a cassette adapter, and I've tried a variety of cassette adapters. I found one that sounded great, but it broke after about 3 or 4 weeks. It just stopped working properly. So I bought another one. And it worked for about a week or two. And then the cable kind of broke on it. And I got this one. It's like, you know what, forget it, I'm done. The FM transmitters that they sell don't work very well at all. They're good for if it's like, you know, the only option you have. So I decided that it's time to replace the stereo. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to pull this little surround off. Now, in doing so, I bought all the stuff I need. I got the wiring adapter. You never want to cut factory wiring harnesses unless the car is a complete piece of crap that you don't care about. You don't want to start cutting wiring harnesses. That's like the lazy way to do it. It's not very smart. Sure, you can get the job done that way, but I won't do it. Anyway, see if I can't get this off. I've never taken this tombstone off. I should look up. I'm sure there's a trick to it. There's only one screw that I can find, and that's right here. Looks like, yeah, there isn't one there. What you've got to do is you've got to pull the center vents out. There's a pretty foolproof way to do that with a shoestring and a hook. What you got to do is get the shoestring in there. There you go. Then you just pull the center vents out like this. Like that. God damn. There we go. And right up in here, you're going to find 2 screws. And there we are. Behind the dash here, you're going to find a little connector. We'll pull that off. There we go. So we're going to just unscrew that. And you can, hopefully that amplifier has a remote volume switch you can use to control it. If not, you know, it's just going to be a headache for you. Let's see if we can get this thing out of here. Is there something in the back I gotta do? So once you remove all 4 screws and slide the head unit out just a little bit, you're going to have to disconnect the wiring. Now I found that it was much easier to reach behind the dashboard to do this. And it makes it a little bit easier by removing the glove box, which is only held in by 2 screws. And once you do that, you can reach behind and you can get to the main wiring harness. Okay, so this is me kind of working my way back there with my hand, and it was very painful, I've got to tell you. I did loosen the HVAC control panel because I thought it would, I thought there was some way I could slide it out and gain better access, but that was not the case. I actually had to remove one of the harness connectors from the passenger side, and then I did the other one from the driver's side. It was a bit of a process, but we got it. And we're not done yet. There's still one more we got to do. Damn nabbit. All right, let me get to the driver's side, and we'll get the other one out of there. And my hand was covered in the gunk from the degraded wiring harness wrapping that they used. They use a foam tape, it's like an electrical tape that's coated in foam, and it helps to prevent vibrations. But over time, the stuff turns to basically tar, and you're going to get that on your hands. So make sure that you're not dressed to the nines while you're doing this. Looks like we're just about to get the unit out, and let's see. Oh, there we are. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with. All right, let's take a look at our wiring. So we have 3 harness plugs. One of them, I'll go over these piece by piece. That's our main wiring harness. That's for power and front speakers. That is our rear speaker wiring harness for the 4 speakers in the seats. And that is for the body sonic transducers. There's 1 in each seat. That's just a 4-conductor connector. And of course our antenna lead is right there. So pretty simple stuff. There's our ground lead, but we'll be making a new ground lead because that one's too short. So let's move on to setting up the new wiring harness and getting them linked together. This is going to be fun. All right, let's take a look at what we got here. So in my left hand is the rear speaker wiring, and my right hand is the main harness. That is the Metra adapter that we'll be setting up with the stereos included wiring harness. There's our antenna extension. So let's put that aside. Now, one of the things that I do is whenever I'm wiring up a stereo, I solder and shrink tube everything. I don't do the wire nuts and duct tape method that some people do. Not my bag. For the stereo, I chose the KDC X302 by Kenwood. This is an Exelon series product. This is actually the entry-level Exelon product. There's our wiring harness that we need to link it to the factory adapter harness. I bought everything from crutchfield.com for under 120 bucks. Those are important. Those are the those are needed to unlock the stereo from the the sleeve that it slides into if you need to remove it. We'll put that in a safe place. But yeah, I use shrink tubing and solder because that is a permanent connection. It will never degrade. It will always work. One of the problems that I've had buying used cars with factory or aftermarket stereo installations done by the previous owner is that 9 times out of 10 they don't work, and it's because the previous installer either wired it wrong or they just twisted the wires together and electrical taped them together. So that's not cool. Don't do that. So here's our stereo. There's our sleeve. And that little pink connector that's hanging down there, that is the microphone connector, because this has a built-in Bluetooth hands-free system that we will be integrating into the car somehow. Yay! All right, let's get on it. Okay, you can see that I've stripped back all the connectors, all the wires I'm using, and I have placed shrink tubing over every one of them. Some of them I put 2 by accident. Yeah, took care of that. Anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to match these up to these and these. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to match wire for wire. It turns out the color codes for the Kenwood harness match perfectly with the Metris wiring harness that I bought from Crutchfield. And I got to point this out too. Miatas with the factory included headrest speakers. There is a lot of controversy over how they're wired. It turns out that from the factory, the base model and the models with the non-premium sound system were wired haphazardly. So each seat has a left and right speaker, and so the passenger left and the driver's left are supposed to be wired together as well as the right. And what's happened is a lot of them are wired either reverse polarity or they don't match up. So left is right, right is left. What I've found is that, and this turned out to pan out to be true in my car anyway, the premium sound systems were wired correctly. They had better speakers and they were wired with more care. So just pointing that out. Also, if you have the factory headrest speakers and not some aftermarket installation or dealer installation, that little connector that you see with the purple and green wires that's sitting on the counter right there, that is your that is your headrest speaker wiring harness. So the main harness only has the front speakers. And now I'm showing off some handiwork. I have actually, yeah. I'm just getting ready to finish up the wiring part of this, and then we'll get the shrink tube shrunk. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to wrap the entire harness in electrical tape to keep it safe, secure, and I know that electrical tape does degrade under dashboards over time, but that's okay. It's not being used to keep anything together. It's really just for cleaning up the operation. For a cleaner install. So that's really what it's used for. I used basic electrical tape. There is also an electrical tape designed for wiring harnesses specifically. It actually has a kind of a felt covering on it, and I would prefer to have used that, but I didn't have any. I didn't want to go buy any either. So let's finish up this wiring, and then we'll put it all together, and hopefully things work. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to link it to this. Oh wait, where does this go? Oh, it screws to the back of the radio harness. It's all covered in gunk. So that's what's getting my hands all dirty. I'll figure that out. Antenna, wire. So, yeah. Alright then. Where did I say that? Here's the antenna. It goes there. We'll just stick that in there. That little 4 connector, 4 pin, this isn't going to get used anymore. That, maybe in a later date, I'll install an amp for that. But right now, I don't see that as happening. So let's get this plugged into here. Hopefully it's the right one. Okay. I need to, I know what I'll do. I'm going to put a proper ring connector on this, but for right now, this is a ground. It's probably not a very good one, but it is a ground. But what we'll do is we'll put a ring connector on that. If we like it, we'll put a ring connector on it, and we'll find a suitable grounding point for it. I can't access the screw that holds the factory ground in place. Okay, so we're grounded. Let's put this on. We should at least have some form of power at this point, which I don't think we do. Where's my key? Where's Mikey? Where's my key? There's my key. Let's see if this thing works. Oh, we got power. Select language. Press volume knob. English. Oh yeah, that's another reason I bought the stereo, is because it's supposed to be in demo mode. Yes, cancel demo, please. This can be, this is a chameleon. It can be set to any color you want. So I'm going to make it match the green illumination of the factory. I've got a CD here. It's a great CD. Let's hear it. Oh, the antenna just popped open. I got sound. Hold on. Okay, it works great. It works absolutely perfect. It sounds crisp and clear. I haven't really played with it much, but I think we're good. So let's see if the battery link works. So I shut it off. Antenna closes. Somebody's getting full of lead. Really good timing, guys. Thanks. Anyway, when I put the key back on, it should resume from where it left off. Yep, exactly where it left off. All right. So we got sound through all the speakers except for, of course, the bass transducers. All I've got to do now is wrap up this harness and make it look pretty. I've got to run the wire for the microphone. I haven't decided where that's going to go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the body sonic system. That's the 4-pin connector that we did not use. That actually links directly to the right and left bass transducers that are mounted in the seat backs. If your car has them and you've actually used them before, you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty cool. You can wire that into a new stereo very easily. You just need to add a small amplifier and just connect that to the preamp out, maybe the subwoofer preamp out on your new stereo. And that's how you can control the volume or intensity of the transducers. I decided not to do this because I don't want to cut the connector off my harness, and I figure I can live without it, and maybe at a later time I'll change my mind, but right now I'm going to leave it out of the system for now, and we'll deal with it later. So let's go ahead and work on getting the dashboard adapter kit built. It is basically a do-it-yourselfer assembly from scratch kind of deal. But let's take a look at that wiring harness. I just got finished wrapping it in electrical tape so it looks nice and factory-ish. Look at that, pretty cool. It's just going to neaten up the job a little bit, and it's going to look nice if they ever take the stereo out, and whoever owns the car next, if I ever sell it, and they'll be like, hey, nice job. All right, here is our Metra Mazda dashboard adapter kit. This was included free of charge with my stereo from Crutchfield. I actually thought it was a very nice kit. I like this kit over the others because it places the stereo above the little storage bin that you insert to complete the, the dash thingy dish. So basically, we're putting a single DIN stereo into a double DIN opening. So that little pocket that I just pulled out of the bag, yeah, that goes in the bottom below the stereo. Okay. This is probably going to be the stereo's home. And then, this thing, this little under shelf thing is going to go in there somehow. I believe I have to read the instructions. I hope I did. Okay, so I need to remove brackets that I don't need, according to the instructions. It's just a soft plastic, so they should just come right off. But yeah, that's the price you pay when you buy Universal. So I'm only using brackets, or I'm sorry, tabs B, just B. So A's and C's and D's, don't want them. Don't need them, don't want them, make them gone. Just like that. Okay, so I need to also remove these other tabs. I thought so. I'm like, you're going to have me remove these, aren't you? Yeah. This is very, very soft plastic, which is good, which is really good. Now, I actually scored the plastic on these lower mounting ears because I felt that there's a really good chance that they're going to cause some fracturing and breaking, and I don't want that. Even though it looks like at the factory there was a little bit of that, done, but again, once you break it, once you screw it up once, that's it. It's all over. So these lower tabs should just break off like that. There we go. Just like that. Just like magic. There we go. Look at that. That was simple. So this has to go in here somehow. I think it mounts in like that. There's got to be like some spacers needed and stuff. Oh yeah, so there's going to be like a long spacer. Probably going to be, yeah, probably going to be this thing here. Right? Yeah, this is it. And then it's going to snap in like that. Yep. And that goes in. Oh wait, no. No, there's going to be a thinner version of that. Possibly this one. Alright, I've temporarily routed the microphone jack. I'm going to clean it up later, but I'm going to file the dash rough opening because it's just a little bit intrusive, and the stereo won't fit, or the bracket won't fit on both sides. So that's okay. I needed to vacuum the car anyway. I'm going to use the curved side of the file. Do that. The other side one more time. Okay, a little more filing, and I think we're just about home free. Now, I just thought of another possible problem that might affect us. And, well, we're going to see how the faceplate, the tombstone as Miata enthusiasts call it, how is that all going to fit together? Well, let's find out. So, it's not. So we're good there. We're good there. Oh, you know what? It might be okay. Let's all get all bolted together and see what happens. All right. So the Metra dashboard installation kit comes with 2 spacers that actually push the stereo out a little bit so that you don't have to really cut or modify anything to make this work. But the consequence is the stereo will sit beyond the outer plane of that center console cover, or that center stack cover. I decided I didn't want that. So I cut those 2 spacers off, which will allow the stereo to mount flush with the cubbyhole and the HVAC controls. Now, the consequence of that is the radio's bezel no longer fits. It will not fit widthwise into that little pocket or that hole. Okay. So what we have to do now is we have to cut the edges off of the bezel with a Dremel tool. That's what I did. So I cut the edges off, or the sides off, just a little bit with a Dremel tool, and then I filed them and sanded them smooth so that they don't look like they're hacked up or anything. That's actually pretty common when installing an aftermarket stereo in any vehicle. You sometimes have to cut, modify, saw, file, or trim here and there to make things fit right. And that's exactly what we did. More time than I had anticipated, but and there it is, a fully installed stereo. The end result is going to be pretty cool. Yeah. I just noticed for the first time that in this video it looks as if there's exposed metal on the top and bottom. That is not the case. It's actually catching the light of the camera's illumination. So, back together and, but when you're in the car, you don't notice that at all. That's my key. Let's see how this thing lights up. So there we are. It's a done deal. Let's put the car back together again and see how things pan out. So when I turn the ignition on, it takes a second for it to kick on, I've noticed. Oh, I turned it off. That's right. There it goes. Very nice. No device. There is a CD in there, right? Let's see. Oop. There it goes. Skip. All right. I think it's gonna do just fine. I think that's gonna do just fine. All right. We're done. Thank you for watching. So let's get a closer look at the factory stereo from my Miata. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is the Mazda Sensory Sound System 1. There was a newer version of this with bigger buttons, but this is the original one from the 93 LE and specially equipped models from 1993 to about early 95. And contrary to some of the forum posts that I've read, and maybe it's just specific to certain head units, but mine, the body sonic unit is a separate module rather than integrated into the main cabinet designed to look like a separate module, because it is in fact an independent module by itself. There's a possibility that this stereo could have been put into a car without the body sonic, and I'll show you how that's all done. So the body sonic unit is a separate amplifier. Basically, that's really what it is. It's just a separate amplifier, and it powers the transducers, which plug directly into here. You know, I just thought of something. It may be possible. No, it won't be. Unless you figure out what the pinout is on this DIN connector here. Probably provides power and other functions. But Anyway, so how this is wired? So this can be functioned. Sorry, this can function as an independent head unit because the way the Miata rear speakers are wired in, they're on a separate plug. You'll notice there's simply two channels here. That's all, just two channels. That's rear left and rear right. These are the headrest speakers. And that's what got me into some confusion when I was wiring up the new stereo. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought the speakers were in this connector, and they weren't in anyway. So, long story short, all this is doing is it's rerouting your rear left and right channel into a separate amplifier, which then pumps it back out through this connector. In fact, these are the same plug. This one and this one are interchangeable. So it's just basically rerouting the rear audio and extracting a bass frequency of some form, a low frequency, which it pumps out to the transducers. And then it sends the the rear speaker audio out through this connector. You could, in fact, let's say this unit went bad, you could bypass this sucker by just unplugging it and plugging your rear speaker connector into here. Pretty interesting. And of course, the main harness connector here, that's your power and front speakers. So that's how it's done in this car. And maybe the later models were a more integrated package, but the 94, 93, 90, early 95s, that's how they did it. In fact, on the bottom, you've got a production date of September of 93. Model CPN 1213. And from what I gather, these stereos are incredibly valuable to someone restoring an LE or even an original Miata that had this originally and that was taken out at some point in the car's life. And the units that are remaining in full functioning order are few and far between, and this just happens to be one, which is why I'm going to hang on to it indefinitely. As long as I own the car, I'll keep the stereo. And I made no modifications of any kind to the car that would prohibit this from being slid back into the dash. The only modification I made to the car was to the rough opening, which doesn't affect this at all. All I did was I ground away some plastic, and now the new stereo fits nicely. So there it is. Now I am loving the new stereo. I just took it out for a quick cruise, and it sounds crystal clear. It adds a lot of functionality to the car's audio abilities. I mean, my phone integrates seamlessly with the new stereo. In fact, better than my Hyundai stereo, which the stereo that's in my Elantra GT is terrible. It's the factory stereo, but it's a very, very poorly designed Bluetooth integration in that stereo. It was more of I think it was like the first generation of Bluetooth integrated stereos that Hyundai ever had, and they just kept that stereo in production for way too long. But this new one is fantastic. It even shows me the phone's battery level, which my Hyundai doesn't do. I was able to kind of fine-tune the audio controls so that it sounds really nice in that car. I do miss the body sonic system, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to... I could probably rig this up if I really wanted to, but I'm not going to because it's just... I don't want to modify anything. But anyway, so it's working great. It sounds fantastic. The lighting is customizable, so I got it to match the gauge lighting and the HVAC control lighting, and it looks great. It looks like it belongs in the car, and that's kind of what I was looking for. So anyway, so I'm going to put this away, and I'm going to enjoy that new stereo. Well, this one just kind of sits and waiting until the day it's needed again.